And we are back with another episode of Bringing the Heat. I'm your host, Steve, joined by Brandon. It is July 31st. It's been a while since we did an episode, but we are back. Brandon, I understand that you have had mouth surgery, so us
Yes,
ranting
sir.
about the Phillies isn't exactly good for that.
I'll give it what I can. You know what I mean? I got 7 stitches in my mouth right now, but it's not holding me back from talking my shit on this team.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't come prepared. I don't have any monologue. I don't really even have a hot take. I know that's the theme of the show, but I am like so withdrawn from this team. Not baseball. I love like baseball is super interesting this year. I love it. But holy shit, this Phillies team, man. So if you're not into baseball, you're not gonna enjoy this episode because that's all we're talking about. And it's been a rough couple of days, especially like within the last like 48 hours, passing the trade deadline, and their biggest moves are acquiring Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy, and then getting Freddie Galvis back from the Orioles. Just
Yeah. It's very underwhelming.
it's so weird
Like
because
incredibly underwhelming.
guys like Kimbrel, Chris Bryant, um, those were some of the bigger names that were being thrown out there as possibilities. Now, obviously, like those are all rumors and it's all conjecture, and everybody just like says like, "Oh, these teams are making a push for these guys," and I understand that stuff's how that works. But I can't believe that they were able to not get any big name. Like if they got Kimbrel, Chris Bryant, like any big name, I would be like, we're good. That was a good deadline.
Well, it's even worse that like I feel like obviously besides the Marlins getting rid of what's his name in center field,
Is Darling Marte.
Starla Marte to Oakland. Besides them, like I feel like everybody in the division kind of just did a whole lot to either buy or sell. Like they were not in between. The Phillies were like the only team. It's like every season with them, the trade deadline. They're always like just barely, in there still. And instead of
Mm,
making a big move that can, show that the front office believes in them, they always just they buy themselves a couple band-aids and hope to God that they can do something. But it's hard when you got the Mets who are already they were my prediction to win the National League East this season, but like, you add Javi Baez, it's like, that's a huge, huge addition. And then even the Braves added, they pretty much redid their whole outfield. Like a guy like, Duvall, I would have loved him on this team off the bench or as a center fielder. It's just like it's so and the Nationals they've given up, but they got some really good prospects at least in return. But they made their minds at least. They didn't just kind of hold back and do what they wanted to do and just stay mediocre. They're like, yeah, fuck it, we're selling, we're gonna rebuild, and we're gonna get a bunch of good ass prospects in return. And the Phillies just decided to be the Phillies and grab a mediocre starting pitcher. He has one good season, which is this season.
yeah,
They grab him, Ian Kennedy. The guy's a very underwhelming closer. Like he's got no fastball speed. Like they take Ranger Suarez out of the bullpen now, and they're gonna make him a starter, which in my opinion is completely idiotic. Not only that, like Spencer Howard, as much as I hate that dude, like how is he? How is he our number one or two prospect? Like what, 5 months ago, even like
yeah.
last year, he was our number one, like our gem. We wouldn't get rid of the guy, and it's like when you finally do, it's like I don't know. I feel like if you got rid of that guy that we declared was our number one, number two prospect in our system, like go all in if you're gonna get rid of somebody like that. Don't get a guy like Kyle Gibson in return. Like you're pretty much just like junking him at that point because Kyle Gibson's gonna come here. He's been complete shit like the last few
Yeah,
outings that he's
it's
had. Like
been
he's gonna come here and be a decent pitcher, if that. Hopefully, he's gonna be a back end guy. Ian Kennedy might be okay in the bullpen, but like you give up Spencer Howard for that, like it just
Yeah, I
doesn't make
think
sense
you
to me.
you made a good point. Before we continue, we should say that this podcast is definitely sponsored by the Phillies for Life Facebook group. We will not
Yes,
forget
sir.
that plug.
Yes, sir. My
Appreciate
dad, my dad wanted that 100%, and rest in peace to my dad. You know what I mean?
facts.
Yeah,
Yes, he wanted
he
that.
wanted this. He wanted this podcast to be sponsored by them, so we make sure we throw
Yeah,
that in there.
exactly, and I think that's awesome. But like you were saying, I agree. I think a lot of the teams, especially in the division, which makes it even worse, they all went in a direction, right? The Nationals were just selling because they don't have what it takes right now to make a push. The Mets and the Braves, they made good acquisitions because they're still buying, and I think they're both in that mentality that they can win the division. Um, Marlins, like they got rid of a few guys, but they're not completely rebuilding. You know what I mean? Like,
Although they have a sick young starting like rotation.
yeah,
Jesus, like who they
they're
got? They
yeah,
got Lazardo back, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
From
from Oakland.
Oakland.
Mhm.
Dude, what a return. Like that guy is he's got nasty stuff and he's real young. So I'm like, dude, like I couldn't believe they got that for essentially a rental in Marte, but I mean, good for them. They fleeced them, in my opinion.
But yeah, like you said with Spencer Howard, like yeah, I believe it was like him, Bryson Stott, and like Alec Boehm apparently was like super like a big prospect before we brought him up. So like you figure like three guys, even like Mickey Moniak was supposed to be that guy, but like
Well,
that's
he was
not
the
even
number
like
one pick.
yeah, that's not even like close to reality. So it's like
I
a lot
wish
of
they
these
would have got rid of
prospects in
Bernie Mac.
baseball, Spencer Howard was rated like one of the higher Phillies prospects, but
And he could have been okay, but they just like
yeah,
this
like
team, like they don't know how to develop, and two, like they don't know what they're doing when they do develop. Like they bring
yeah,
Spencer Howard up as a starter and then send him back down as a reliever, and then they try to make him a starter again down there, but bring him back up as a reliever and then try to make him a starter again. Like the guy either can be out of the bullpen or he can be a starting pitcher. If he can't be a starting pitcher, like if his velocity's dipping after 3 innings, he can't be a starter. It's just and it's like every time,
I
like
agree.
or
Yeah,
like him and his soft things. Like what was this thing when he ran the first? He says his heart rate was too high or something, and he
oh
couldn't
yeah, and
like
I think his last outing he like had a blister on his finger or something.
yeah, like the guy's soft. But I mean, still, it's just like the principle of what they gave him up for. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean it's he's in the same boat, like that back end of the rotation. So you got like Vince Velasquez, Matt Moore, Chase Anderson, Spencer Howard, and you're just like, okay,
How
none
is
of
Vince
these guys.
Velasquez not
Yeah,
DFA'd? Like I don't understand after last night. I really don't get it.
yeah, that explosion and just
It's
utter
every time he's
failure.
out there.
That was so bad. Like we were, we were texting over the game, and I was just sitting there flipping through channels, watching commercials because I was like, I cannot watch this game
You can only
anymore
take
because
so much of it. Like it's every time he comes out
yeah,
there, it's just an absolute dumpster fire, and they do nothing
mhm,
about it. So it's like at this point, like how do you keep me invested if it's just every fifth day he's coming out there?
exactly. It's so disappointing, and they're not doing anything to improve the situation. I know Joe said earlier that they were gonna move him to the bullpen and then move Chase Anderson
That's
into
not
the
good for me.
rotation. And I'm like, both guys are not good for either spot. And it's like I don't understand Joe Girardi's like mindset when he like sees Vince Velasquez. The guy
Like
just
get him
isn't
off the
good.
team. Like get him out of
Yeah,
here.
I don't
Like
want him in triple
straight
A.
up.
I don't want him in double A. I want him off of the fucking baseball team. I want like you should part ways, let him go to like a team like Milwaukee and never play baseball again. But like it's just it gets to this point where
Never play baseball again.
we feel like it is just every time, every other day. I mean, if it's not like Wheeler, even Nola's been sketchy this year. Eflin's been hurt. Like we haven't had any type of reliability,
There's
and they
zero
knew that going
consistency.
into the deadline.
Every season there's just zero consistency. And they never bring in I mean Zach Wheeler's been very consistent at least,
Hmm.
but besides him, it's like Eflin, of course, is hurt. Nola this year has taken a huge step back. The whole starting rotation is just like, even if they did buy at the deadline, I wouldn't even be excited because it's like you look at a team like the Dodgers, like the Astros, like the Brewers or the not the Brewers, the Padres, and it's like this team might get demolished by any of
Oh
them.
yeah,
Like, it's like why would I mean the playoffs would be cool just because it's been so long, but like
yeah,
you go into the playoffs with Matt Moore as your five guy or Chase Anderson, like you're straight up not winning any series like that. Even if
yeah,
Cole Hamels is brought in, everybody's talking like Cole Hamels is going to be a savior here if he comes back, like old Cole Hamels. Like this
yeah,
isn't 2008. This is going to be Cole Hamels who has pitched like one start in the last 2 years. Like
yeah. Yeah, I think he had like a 6 inning start with Atlanta last year, and that
and it
was
was
it.
bad. Like it was really bad
Yeah,
too. Like
I mean, that's the thing. I think a lot of people want him back for more novelty reasons, just to say like, we got Cole Hamels back. But like, I truly do believe that he is better than most of the people that we've had pitch this year. Like
Yeah, I agree.
off the bat, I will trust Cole Hamels because
Yeah,
he can
100%.
do it. Now, I'm not saying he's your ace. He's obviously not the ace anymore, but he's certainly a 4 or 5. He could even be a 3. But
Also, Freddie Galvis coming back to me makes zero sense. I get Didi is awful in the field, but like Ronald Torreyes
oh
is
my
here,
god,
Nick Maton is here. Like we have all these guys for the infield. You couldn't get any center field depth. Like Adam Hazley is like AWOL. Like
yeah, I
I
think
don't even know if
yeah,
he still plays baseball at this point. Roman Quinn still has that what was it, Achilles? Like
yeah, I think he ruptured his Achilles.
we have no center field like depth, like legitimate, and you get Freddie Galvis. Like I don't.
It's such a
The guy,
weird move
he's
because
batting what 241, which is sad because 241 is an upgrade over Didi this year. But
yeah, and defensively, I'll take Freddie Galvis over Didi. So like
they're not starting Freddie over Didi with how much they're paying
exactly,
Didi. So I'm like,
and so that's the thing with the deadline moves. I think you can technically say they succeeded because on paper and empirically they did get better, but they didn't address the major concerns with enough of a push. Like I don't
it is
understand.
legitimately buy
Yeah,
and
and I
kind of
just
like comfort bought. Like
yeah,
Kyle Gibson, I like that addition. I think Ian Kennedy is okay too. I think he's more of like he'd be a good setup. I don't think
yeah.
he's like your closer. If you want a closer, I think you need like a hard I like closer. I think like 100-mile-an-hour fastball and a nasty slider. Like
Mhm.
you could say Alvarado, but he's not. He's too wild. Like
So yeah, it's so like,
it's tough. I mean,
and
I
that's the
like
thing.
Ranger Suarez too. He doesn't have a whole lot of heat, but
Mhm.
his changeup's nasty and he's been really good this year.
Yeah,
So
Ranger. Like I think he's like that different type of closer where he's not a hard thrower, but he commands his pitches well. So like, and he doesn't crack under pressure. Like the
yeah, he's
guy doesn't
got
get,
balls.
yeah, he doesn't. He's not like Alvarado where he starts sweating bullets and he's like launching balls fucking 10 feet off the plate and like he doesn't get all crazy. He keeps it composed and he like. Now I'm not saying he's perfect, but for what role they kind of had envisioned and where they put him, he fit nicely. That's probably one of the 3 or 4 highlights of his team. I think him as a possible closer, I didn't think about that, but like he's got the ability to close games consistently. So like I'm cool if he's the closer, but they're obviously trying to get him some innings, possibly get him back into the rotation. And it's just like I can't believe your highlighting move of the deadline was bringing back Freddie Galvis, getting
And bringing Kyle
36-year-old
Gibson.
Ian Kennedy, and then Kyle Gibson.
I mean, Kyle
Why?
Gibson, he
Like,
was an all-star, sure, but
mhm.
I mean, look at his stats every year, but this year.
Yeah, it's
And
it's just one of those.
it's once they started cracking down on the sticky stuff, now all of a sudden
Yeah,
he's not that good anymore. So
yeah, it's one of those weird things. Like if they just made a more of a blockbuster move, like even like the Nationals, you got rid of Scherzer and Trey Turner, and you got like Kybert Ruiz, and you got a bunch of prospects. Like they are going to be crazy good next like
they
year.
got what's his name? Josiah something, that pitcher prospect too. He's really
Oh
good.
yeah, yeah, I know you're talking about.
I can't remember his name, but
Yeah, but like the Dod, you know what? I was thinking about this earlier. We'll make this a minor rant about baseball. Fuck the Dodgers, okay? Because I'm sick. I was thinking about this, right? So the last couple of days, I was thinking like the Dodgers, man. They're always on top. They're always good. I don't know in my lifetime if I've ever seen a bad Dodgers team. Like they might not have always won their division, but it feels like they've always been relevant and
it's
somewhat
like they're the
good.
new
And
Yankees kind of. They're just like they buy
it's
everybody.
yeah,
But it's
like
honestly like they can because they develop prospects. Like
their
they
payroll is like over 300 and something million this
bro,
year.
they develop prospects. We'd be able to do the same thing if we had decent prospects. They always, no matter how good they are, they always have like top prospects in their system. They
Yeah,
just
they
keep
get the high,
regenerating
they
them.
get the good prospects, and then they trade for really high quality players. So once those players are done, those prospects fit right in, and those prospects like
It's
99%
just a
of the time work
cycle.
out.
The
And
Phillies
you're
are like, yeah,
yeah,
we've been garbage for a decade, and we
like I don't
got
even know who our best prospect
we
would
got
be considered.
probably
Like
Mick Abel.
Mick Abe, yeah, he's supposed to be one of like the top Philly prospects, but even
Bryson
still, it's
Stott's okay. He's like a He's not a top tier,
Yeah.
but he's like an okay prospect. I'm trying to think.
I don't
Let
know
me-
though. Like for the future, for like next year, let's just say, would you trade Didi for a pitcher and then just trust Bryson Stott to come up here and play short?
I mean, if you got Freddie Galvis and Ronald Torreyes now, I mean, you also have those as your option. But at this point, I mean, honestly, at this deadline, I would have traded McCutcheon
Hmm.
just because of his contract.
Yep.
And he's having a great year. Like, to be honest, as far
Hmm.
as how old he is and his power numbers and whatnot, I would have
Oh, yeah.
traded him. I would have traded Reese Hoskins, to be
Hmm.
honest. It's just me. And I probably would have traded. That might be it. I mean, Gene Segura, maybe. I guess it depends if I wanted to go in the full sell mode or not. But
Hmm.
Gene Segura is also having a great season. So, like, when they're that good right now, it's like if you have no hope in them. Because my thing is, it's like if this team gets in the playoffs, like, what's our future window look like?
Yeah.
Like, what's the next 5 years look like? Does it look like we're going to be like, we're a young team
Competitive.
going in? We're an
Yeah.
aging team. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. How
if
is
we
our team old and not good? How did we like
That's what I'm
get?
saying. And we've been rebuilding for a decade. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like if we make it this year, even next year, the next 5 years, it's not like we have a dynasty growing. Like we have an aging team. Like
Mhm.
JT is almost 30. Bryce is almost 30. Reese is like an older kind of guy now, too. He's
Mhm.
high 20s. Like Gene Segura's not young. Didi's not really young. I mean, Andrew McCutcheon's fucking mid
They get-
30s out there.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Like
not like
Zach Wheeler's old. Zach Wheeler's like 30 or 31.
Yeah, it's like, and we don't have any like, we don't have Juan Soto, we don't have Ronald Acuna, we don't
Mhm.
have Cody Bellinger, we don't have like this big name prospect coming up. So it's like,
Mhm.
what are we really looking forward to at this point? Like, I
Yeah,
don't even
it's
know
a
what
weird
to.
situation because like it's almost a requirement in any sport really, but like for baseball specifically, you can have a bunch of bad years, you get your prospects, you build them up, you might trade some superstars, but you'll get the talent, you'll develop them, and then like in 4 or 5 years, you'll be competitive again. The Phillies have found a way to bypass that second part where we
Much.
can get rid of people, we can waste everybody's prime, waste all the talent, and then when they're done playing, or at least done playing for the Phillies, we then just bring up a bunch of random guys or sign some shitty old, like like just veteran players are like, yeah, bring them in. Like you're not bringing in anybody who's worth value. Like
It never feels like we have like sick prospects that come up and do anything. Like Alec
yeah,
Bohm is
never.
okay, but he's been garbage this year. So it's
Yeah,
like,
I can't stand Alec Bohm if I'm being. I would so trade him. But again, you
it's
look at
just,
these guys like most of them, their value just isn't high anymore. Like,
I mean, honestly, like we've been rebuilding for a decade. I'd almost respect them more if they would just this offseason just blow it up,
mhm.
get legitimate prospects in our farm system, and I'll watch, another 5 years of garbage baseball until we have a team built. Because like you look at the OA team, it was built of a core that Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, Ryan, like these guys came up all kind of around the same time as prospects on this team, and they became something special from that. Like you need that kind of core to win anything in
Mhm.
the playoffs. You look at the Dodgers; they have a core, but they just buy everybody anyway. They don't
Yeah.
really give a fuck.
And then yeah,
Like you
they're
look
but
at
that's the thing. I honestly like believe I think they're winning it this year, and I think they have a real chance to win it next year. That would be a 3P in baseball. I don't think I've ever even heard of that.
I could see them doing it.
I
I mean,
think I know the Yankees won 4 World Series in like I think it was like 98,
it's
99,
like who's stopping them? I mean, the Astros are
like
okay, but
5 years span. Yeah, I mean, like realistically, like in the American League, I mean, I don't think the Yankees will do it because they still need a. I mean, I know they got Andrew
they're very
Heaney, but
inconsistent, like with hitting.
yeah,
I
they
mean, the
got a
whole
bunch of
league
great
sucks,
hitters. Don't get me wrong; they are gonna fucking hit a lot of home runs, but
especially with Rizzo now, and then
you know their pitching isn't good.
what's his name? Who they
And
get? He
so
just Joey Gallo.
yeah, so I think in the American League, I'd probably have them going against Boston. Maybe the White Sox, maybe Astros.
Yeah, I think the White Sox are gonna make some noise this year.
See, and that's the thing; they have prospects too. They were, if people don't
Their
remember,
bullpen is unreal, dude.
Go back like 6 years with the White Sox, 6, 7 years. They were
Nobody wanted to
awful. They
sign
were
with them.
getting 95 lost seasons at like for like
Nobody wanted to sign with them.
yeah,
Remember they tried to make a move for Machado and you didn't like
yeah.
everybody was clowning them because they're like, why would he want to go to the White Sox? Like
They
nobody's
hadn't been relevant since Paul Konerko. It's
pretty much.
like 8 years ago. You're like we were in high school when they were good, but they were bad for a reason, right? They're getting prospects, they're developing players.
And now look at them.
Now
They're
they're
a sick
exciting.
team.
Like you want to watch. Like I want to watch the White Sox like win some games and like even perhaps be a spoiler and like win a big series against a team like Boston. That'd be crazy. And that
I
would be good
agree.
for the culture of baseball.
Well, I mean, you look at them too. It's like not only are their prospects tearing it up, but like even guys they bring in, like Lance Lynn has been sick for
Yep.
the White Sox. Like they bring in these people. They not only are developing prospects the right way, but they develop like veteran players better. Like
Yeah.
this team can't seem to do either of that. Like guys come here and they suck.
Mm-hmm.
Like veteran players. Didi comes here, plays like garbage. I mean, Gene Segura, the guy can just flat out hit, so you can't really say
Mm-hmm.
anything wrong with that. But it's like we bring in guys off the free agency market. We trade for guys. They come here. They don't produce the way we expect them, which is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
expecting Kyle Gibson to do. But it's like even our prospects, I never get excited when they get brought
Me
up
either.
because I'm just like this team fails so much to make legitimate prospects that like I'm afraid Alec Boehm is probably lost now at this point.
Yeah.
Look at Scott Kingery. Look at
Yep. That's a big
uh,
one.
I mean, but then you look at guys that leave too, like Nick Pivetta. Now he's playing really good for Boston. You
Mm-hmm.
look at guys like uh, JP Crawford, who played decent when he left. I don't know how great he is this year. I haven't really paid attention much to him this year, but like
But
just
he got
it's just
solid. Yeah, like there's players that you see them leave and you're like, okay, like I understand they might not have been the best at their position, but like we can't develop talent. And like you said with Scott Kingery, like you'd say what, like two years ago, if you tried to trade him at the deadline, could you imagine what his value would be?
yeah. And
Like,
now it's literally like next to nothing.
yeah,
Like
like literally, like I don't understand, like, because every team, that's the problem. This isn't like MLB the Show where the trade logic is so off, right? Like you can't just trade a bunch of players and just expect like something will work. No team, no coherent team is gonna look at Scott Kinger and say, yeah, he does this one thing really well. Like he does nothing well.
yeah, he does nothing.
It's like
He's a
I don't
guy.
know what he
He's a guy you
contributes.
can move around the field, but like
Yeah,
he can't field that great either. Like
yeah,
he can't hit. He can't field.
yeah. He can't hit. He's kind of fast, I guess, but like
Scotty jetpacks.
yeah, like it's like okay, that's not good enough. Like you
Yeah.
need to like that way of playing. I think he's just so behind us. We can't like whether you're really good offensively or defensively, you cannot be that dominating and then just like be worthless on the other end. Like it just doesn't work like that anymore. It's so rough with this team, and I want to cheer for him, but it's getting so hard to even just like put on a game.
Just depressing when they don't believe in them like
Yeah,
enough to do anything at the deadline. So like, why should I believe in them?
exactly, because it gets to that point where you're like, you guys haven't chose a direction yet, and how many years are we into this quote unquote rebuild? Like, yeah, since about I guess 2012, like I'd say around there, we probably started, and you're like, I sat through a bunch of bad seasons, and like that's like paying your dues as a baseball fan, and I'm okay with that, right? You have some bad years, but it's to build for a good team eventually, and like
Exactly.
we
Well,
like
it's like
we
out of
missed
that, you
out.
expect a big name You expect a Juan
Mhm.
Soto to make his way, or Ronald Acuna, or like
Yeah,
a Pete Alonso. Like you expect these kind of guys to like kind of be
yeah,
like the prize for just kind of accepting garbage baseball years. But it's like they've kind of turned onto the street now, like a path where like
yeah,
they're so mediocre. I don't know why I said mediocre, that like they can't undo it. Like they're kind of fucked. So like
mhm,
they're just trying to patch it up as they're going, but it's
yeah.
just not going to work. Like in the
Like
end,
I don't know what the vision is.
we might get playoffs a year or two, but then we're back to shit. Like we're an old team. Like it's not going to work.
Yeah, unless there's some bullshit miracle story where like we can put together a decent team, finish out the season, make the playoffs. Like, in my opinion, if they don't win the division, and I guarantee they don't, if they don't win the division, this has been a failure, and you need to fucking sell. Like,
I mean, blow it up at this point. I would much rather see them sell and get me drawn in with young, like sick prospects
yeah,
over like them try to patch in a couple of decent like veterans that are like going to be complete bums when they get here anyway
mhm.
over this offseason and try again with what we have. Like I can't do Matt Moore next year. I can't do Vince Velasquez next year. I can't do Chase
I
Anderson.
honestly don't want. I didn't want them like. I didn't want Vince Velasquez, and I didn't want Matt Moore. I didn't want these type of players. I didn't want them like 3 years ago. And then like if you would have told me in like 2017, 18 that this would still be an issue, I'd be like, I guess I kind of believe it because it's the Phillies, but it shouldn't be that way. Like, how many things had to go wrong for you to not make any upgrades? Like, how many
No,
off
like why
season?
is it so hard for us to get legit back end of the rotation starters? Like trade one of these mid-level
They
prospects that we
tried to
don't
get Tyler
need.
Anderson.
Like just get like there's so many decent like 3, 4, 5 guys out there that like are very cheap to get. And this
Yeah,
team are just like they're like, yeah, we got Matt Moore over in fucking Japan.
they yeah.
Get a real pitcher. Like
He was good. Yeah, he was good in Japan last year. Like,
yeah, be like, oh
thanks.
yeah, Matt Moore. He just threw a 4 hitter over and Hong Kong. Like I'm like why is this so difficult? They're like, oh Chase Anderson. I'm like
Yeah, they're like,
Chase
yeah,
Anderson has been shit. Like
yeah. And then they're like, oh, let's throw Vince back out there. Like, okay, so
yeah, after
maybe
like
we give
what
you
has it
one
been like
inning, and like,
5 fucking years of
I
Vince
can't even
Velasquez just
exaggerate
sucking.
that. I can't even exaggerate the fact that he can go about one inning, and then after that, you're like, you're just playing with fire. You're like, eh,
He's the only guy I've ever seen that looks like fucking Roger Clemens in the first inning and then looks like fucking Helen Keller in the second. Like, I
yeah.
don't know how you go from like so up to so down so
He's like,
quick, but
he's like the pitching version of Michael Martinez. It's bordering on
a
that
broad
because
statement.
at least Michael Martinez, I feel like even though he was a complete like garbage player, I feel like I was less frustrated at him than I am at Vince Velasquez.
I think it's
Like
because he's a pitcher too. It's so much more like in your face, especially
yeah,
last night. Like, I'm so tired of this team, especially like the last 2 weeks having the like, I just feel like the last week has been like very, very in your face with it. But like the
yeah,
last 2 weeks or so, this team has been like every time I turn it on, it's the second inning and we're down 7-0. We're down
yeah.
five
I'm like,
nothing.
oh
Like
well, the game's over. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
I'm
like,
like, dude, like
fucking
you
yeah,
can't like and then they're like, every now and then they'll come from behind and have a dramatic win. And you're like, oh, this is gonna energize them and now they're gonna play good. And then the next night they get one hit shut out by fucking Joe Schmo on the Pirates. And I'm
by a
like,
team with like 20 something less wins than we do. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I'm like,
absurd.
dude.
Like,
And then Bryce Harper last night, there's his defense has just gotten a little. I don't even know
those
what I
are some
watched. I mean,
bad
two
misplays. Like it
two
just
easy pop flies, and one he looked like fucking he went blind, and the second one he barely hit the wall, and he's holding on to his ribs because he's
yeah.
probably just embarrassed. I'm like, dude, like
Yeah, you showed me that play. I honestly didn't see like where like he was grabbing his ribs. He barely like grazed it, and he's like, he comes back and he's like holding himself. Like,
one of those things where
bro,
you're just
come
like you're
on,
so
bro. Like,
embarrassed because you just did it again, so you might as well pretend like you're injured. So
yeah, are
people.
you gonna pretend that there was a reason you fucked that
And then
play
he's like, "Oh,
up?
I'll stay
Because
in the game. I'm gonna stay in the game." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
you're so noble, bro. Like you just
yeah,
dropped
thank
like an
God we got you.
But yeah, I'm like, please, honestly, just get out of the game and let's just throw fucking Roy Oswald out there.
Yeah,
Throw
like let's get like
Vinny V out and right, fucking on the mound. We'll throw Vinny V and right.
get the fucking trainer, throw him on a pair of spikes, and go fucking pitch. Be like,
Get
all right, bro.
Girardi out there in right field or something. Like at this point,
And
I'm
Joe
so
Girardi,
uninvested in this team. Like it's
yeah,
just like I'm out. Like after that trade deadline, like the toxic fan of me still watches, but
yeah,
like
same. I try not to. I really
I
do.
just
I
I don't
really
have
don't want to. I just
I,
like.
I don't have any expectations now. I'm just like,
I
you know
just.
what?
It's so
This
frustrating.
team sucks. And a little update: Aaron Noles on the mound right now, and they're down 2-0 to Pittsburgh. So
Is he really? God damn it.
it's just like you come into these series, all you hear about is, oh, at least the Phillies have the easiest schedule coming out of the break, and it's like we get the Nationals, we get Pittsburgh, and then we get the Nationals again. Like we barely get by the Nationals. we're about to lose 2 straight to Pittsburgh. And it's like we're probably gonna lose to the Nationals, who at this point have fucking fans starting for their positions.
Yeah, I don't even know like what I have to look at what they have left.
Their lineup is literally gonna be everybody and Juan Soto. Like it's just
Yeah, it'll be like you got Juan Soto and
the rest of the guys.
I guess Ryan Zimmerman. Like,
yeah, they get rid of Zimmerman.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things where
Thank God Josh Harrison is not gonna be on my TV anymore. That fucking dude, I can't stand watching.
I can't, dude.
High step run, and he's all like he's giggling as he's running.
He's like fucking prancing. Like he doesn't even get to the bag.
What are you so happy for? Like the only reason you're starting is because you're on the Nationals. Like now you're gonna go to Oakland and not see any time. So
I was like, Josh Harrison, didn't you get cut from Pittsburgh? Like what the fuck? Like
didn't he get fucking no playing time? He was in Philly, wasn't he?
For he I
got
think
like no playing time.
I think it was either this spring or last spring. I think he requested his like release or some shit.
Yeah, probably because they didn't want to play him.
Yeah, they were like, huh. It's like it's guys like that, like the Josh Harrison.
Well, he was in what? He was in Detroit for a little bit, wasn't he too?
Yes. Yeah, I think it was Detroit, Pittsburgh, Washington.
Detroit's another team. They gotta have a lot of prospects in their system. I'd have to think. They've been shit for a little while now, Detroit.
Oh yeah. They're solid. They got young players. Young, like good players.
Every time I think of Detroit, I think of Jose Iglesias now too. Like he's always he's always the guy I think of for Detroit. Not Miggy, not fucking I
always think of Prince Fielder.
Who was the other fucking big guy they had? Home run hitter.
Upton.
Oh man, I can't remember his fucking name. Not Miggy. It was the other Maglio or Donez or whatever.
Oh yeah, him? Maglio. Yeah, they had him. Victor Martinez.
I just think of like there's all those names, and I think of Jose Iglesias every time.
Every time I think of like when I'm thinking like the Detroit Tigers, I think like Miggy, and then I go like Prince Fielder, and I'm just like, yeah.
Every time Detroit comes into my mind, I think of Prince Fielder on the Brewers, but like every time Detroit comes to my mind, I think of David Ortiz hitting the grand slam at Fenway and Jose Iglesias botching that play in the middle of the field and Max Scherzer's face in the dugout, like just pissed off.
Yeah, Jose Iglesias,
he's a nasty fielder, a terrible hitter, but a nasty fielder.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, be like, hey, you're pretty good defensively, but Jesus Christ, please, we will try to make sure you never.
It's kind of like who's the guy on the Nationals center fielder? Robles.
Yeah, Victor
Robles.
Like
a sick fielder, but the guy can't hit fucking worth a shit. But
it's sort of like Ben Revere, where you could have trusted him. See, that was another guy. Like they brought him in from Minnesota, and that was a good acquisition. I think they brought him in like
300 hitter at the time, like
2012 or 2013 or something.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And like
he was like a 300 hitter though. Like he could hit for contact. It was just like
he wouldn't hit it past second base, but like he could get
it was
on.
Just like you would see the fucking a meteor strike before you saw him hit a home run.
Yeah, that first home run, dude. Oh Jesus, that felt so good just to watch. Like I felt like I was a part of something. I was like seeing Ben Revere hit it. I think he finished like I want to say he finished his career like 4 or 5 home runs. Somewhere around there. It was just, he was another guy who definitely like just declined. Like after he left Philly, it was
he's kind of in like the graveyard of like the rebuild years in my mind. Like there's so many
that was like the pinnacle. Like it wasn't even at its peak bad. It was getting bad. Like, and then we've got Ben Revere, and then it was like it's not that bad, and then. You realize you got guys like Aaron Harang and fucking John Mayberry and
God, Aaron Harang was so bad on this fucking team.
Jesus Christ. Wasn't there another pitcher that we had that was like around that time that was like super fucking terrible? Guy like Michael Schwimmer, Felipe Almont, fucking
oh God, Felipe Almont. That dude was huge. He was like 6'6".
They were so bad.
There was a couple. It was like Pettibone,
Michael Stutz. What's his
Justin DeFreitas in the bullpen with
Josh Lindblom. He still
Jake
plays. Jake Diekman, yeah. He was good.
He's still all right too.
Yeah, like even now, like him and Josh Lindblom are actually still decent. Like
I would take Diekman right now out of our fucking bullpen. It's like so sad to look at this team. Like I just think about the division in 5 years, and I feel like the Marlins have a really good future. The Nationals now have a really good future.
Mets are in a good spot to compete.
The Mets are in a good spot for a while because they have a lot of like big names and they're young. They're not like an
Yeah,
older team. Like Pete Alonso he's not old by any means, but he's not young.
but he's like
But
a
you have
top
like
five
you know,
first baseman.
yeah, you have Jeff McNeil, Conforto, like you have legit, and then you have a couple of the best pitchers in baseball when they're
Yep.
healthy. So it's like then you look at that, and then it's like the Braves. The Braves are always competing no matter what,
Yeah, they're always good too, for the most part. Like I just feel
and
like
they
we're
always
all,
have prospects too.
yeah,
They always have
yep,
good farm systems, and then it's just there's us, and it's like now I get it. Now I get why this Phillies team, why the Philadelphia Phillies are like the most losing sport franchise in the history of sports. Like I get it now. I
yeah.
understand.
It makes a
I
lot of
finally
sense.
get it because this team fucking sucks. They can't develop. They can't play now. They suck.
Yeah, I think
Straight up.
that's a very poignant way to put it because it's and another thing like we're not complaining because like they're losing, right? Like you can lose with a purpose. They're losing with no purpose, and that is so fucking
It's just
aggravating.
like a flawed system. Like, why do I keep coming back to the same shit? They call that
Every
toxic.
fucking day.
It's a toxic relationship. We come back, we know they're gonna disappoint us, but I'm like, you know what? There's that slight bit of hope in me that's like,
They'll
I
pull
don't want
out.
to miss it when they turn the corner. And then I show up and I'm like, wow, we just got one hit by the Pittsburgh Pirates. I never want to watch the team again. And then here I am now trying to watch, and they're down 2-0 to Pittsburgh. And it's like, well, this shouldn't be happening. One, two, Aaron Noles on the mound. Why is it happening? Like this team just like they're so inconsistent in every way. But I'm more so complaining about the fact that like we have to deal with this for so long. And it's like it should be building up to get to a peak,
Yeah.
and then you fall down and you rebuild and restart. We're at our peak, and it's not even a peak. Like
Yeah. We're at the peak without winning. Like
we're top 10 in payroll,
yeah,
and
we're paying guys. Don't get that fucking twisted.
management doesn't want to spend it all anymore. Like this is our team. This is supposed to be like the team that we waited for, and this team fucking sucks. Like we're 500, sub 500 at this now team. Like we suck, and then we're gonna have to rebuild and deal with this all the fuck over again. But I have no faith. Like we can't develop anybody. So like at this point, you know what I mean? Go Dodgers. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, one of I would give you a tip for cutting off the toxic relationship. I noticed it helps for me. What you do is you turn off the notifications on MLB on the app. So I don't even know when somebody scores, when the score changes, who's in the lead. I get in a habit where like I check the score anyway. But trust me, it's really good when you don't get any updates and you're like you're happy, you're kind of just going about your day. You don't got to worry about the Phillies. But like I said, I think that will wrap it up. We wanted to do a quick recap of the MLB trade deadline. And yeah, any positive thoughts to leave our viewers with?
So I don't think we're even gonna win a wild card this year. I think the team is a disappointment this year. They choked at the deadline, and I say fucking sell the team at the end of the year. Fucking sorry, Bryce. Sorry, JT. I mean, good thing we gave up six though, our only decent pitching prospect, and now Spencer Howard, our other decent pitching prospect. So my positive thoughts are I mean, Zach Wheeler's been good.
All right. I mean, you know what? You're not wrong in anything that you said. And so, like, I guess if you got to go out, I guess you just got to say, like, yeah, I mean, Bryce's headband is still pretty cool.
Yeah, Bryce is what having another baby now. That's good.
Yeah, I think yeah, like I'm glad, like, but yeah, the team is a disaster. But obviously, we want to see them pull it through and win the division. They're gonna get trampled by any team in the playoffs, but just to get to the playoffs will be okay.
Yeah, it'd be
But yeah,
cool. It's
and
been
I
so
think
long.
Dave Dombrowski and Joe Girardi, if they don't get to at least winning the division, they should both be fired. It is just immediately like you need to blow that shit up and sell the team. And like, I'm not being irrational. I don't think we're being irrational by saying sell the team. I mean, like, truly, like, You need to
It's a
restart
good thing we
this.
didn't. It's a good
Yeah,
thing we didn't keep Kapler. You know what I mean? He's horrible with
yeah, yeah.
the MLB. Are they still in the lead for the whole entire league over in San Francisco for wins right now?
I believe they are. Let me
They
check it.
also got Chris Bryant, so good for them. You know what I mean? Front office actually noticing that they should make a move and pull a
Yeah,
trigger
they
like
lead
that.
baseball. They got 65 wins
There you
by
go,
a
Aaron
Gabe
Nola.
Kapler-led team.
Aaron Nola just hit a sacrifice fly, so it's 2-1. So maybe
I'm
you know what
glad
I mean.
Aaron Nola can do something on one side of the ball. It's just not the side you would expect from a pitcher.
It is what it
Yeah,
is.
but all right, we will wrap this up. Stay tuned. I will post any updates on my Twitter page. I will link it down below. And I am excited. I am excited for baseball. I should specify. I am not excited for the Phillies. I will still watch baseball. I urge everybody to tune in. And it's been great. Love my subscribers. Breaking my microphone.